Oh, darn. See, I keep trying to get below this little icon thing, but whatever. What morally justifies you using animals? Animals are sentient beings. We're sentient beings. We have the same qualifiers that, are the reason why we need moral justification or why we inherently deserve it. So then, what morally justifies you using animals? Good Monday morning, or at least for me it's Monday morning, 9 a.m. Animals are sentient beings. They can feel pain. They have the capacity to feel joy. Experiences and making preferences on those experiences. See, the way you phrase that, it's understandable to adopt someone to care for them, but it's another to adopt them for your own benefits, just to use them. Like if I said, I'm having kids because it makes me feel good, that doesn't sound appropriate, right? I should have kids because I want to care for someone into adulthood, so that they can be a part of the world. Yeah, taste pleasure doesn't justify taking someone's life though, right? Like, if I wanted to harm my neighbor's dog because I think they taste good, that doesn't give me the moral justification to do it. It doesn't matter. Taking someone's life is an injustice. It doesn't matter how well you treat them. Doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm the most free range, right? Like we get to go and do and eat and enjoy as we please. What can someone just come and take your life away from you right now? Cross your bodily autonomy and violate you? No, of course not. So as far as conservation, I'm not a conservationist, but I would hope that the conservationists that are working there, which I know is not the case, would be vegan in the mindset of what can we do before we absolutely need to harm someone, What are the other tactics available to us? What other tools can we use here? Just like we would with humans, right? We're not going to flat out just attack people, or at least we don't find that moral. I mean, when you guys come in here to troll, it really just exposes more about yourself. It shows that you are bored, for one, and two, you don't have anything that, like gives you purpose. You have to go troll somebody that's standing up for someone's rights, somebody who is losing their life, literally. Yeah, you're bored. You're just sitting on, you came here to make sure that I knew that you don't care. Oh, let's see. You got to be over 18 if you want to come up. All right, Mr. Hypothetical.
Hey, how's it going?
Good,
Yeah,
how are you? Right on. All right, so what morally justifies you using animals?
I mean, can you define using animals? There's quite a different ways that we can see that that's used today. What's your definition of that?
Using them in any fashion that we want. We use them for their skin, for entertainment, for labor.
Okay. Would you not be
experimentation, food?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Would you not be able to consider the fact that we currently do use human beings the same way, just paid wages and benefits are given in that same right?
Okay. Do you agree that that's immoral?
No, I don't. I don't think going to work for a wage is immoral.
Oh, well, I don't think that's the same as what the animals go through.
Now, hold on. I grew up in East Texas. I actually grew up on a farm. I have 3 horses there that helped us plow fields, do kind of farm work, that type of thing. They lived open pasture on 250 acres with no other animals but them. They had 3 ponds, plenty of roaming pasture, plenty of woods they wanted to go to. They slept wherever they would like. We provided them shelter if they wanted it, but didn't force them to go anywhere until it was time to work. We fed them. We made sure they were taken care of. We took them to the vet when they needed it. They had their health care paid for. what would be the difference between that horse and another person that's living in everyday society?
Could they leave whenever they wanted?
They had never tried. It's 250 acres. Most of the time they didn't even get to the corners of my property.
Well, if you ask me, it just sounds like slavery by another name.
So why do you give the same moral discrepancy to animals that you do humans?
Sentience.
Sentience? Do you think sentience is what's valuable?
Yes.
What happens when a person loses their sentience? Like, so let's say that
they're dead or they're brain dead.
And that's true, but there have been people who have come back
No. Wait, let's pause for a second.
Yeah.
Can we agree on what sentience is first?
What's your definition of sentience?
Having an experience and making preferences on those experiences. I like to be comfortable. I don't like to be uncomfortable.
Perfect. I understand that.
It's a binary thing.
I understand that. I don't necessarily agree with the definition. I can try to give you mine. Sentience would be the act of being alive, the act of perceiving.
I mean, that would include plants. Plants are not sentient.
No,
so you're already making up your own definition. Sentience is having a subjective experience and making preferences on those experiences. That is what sentience is.
Exactly.
You might be thinking of sapience. You might be thinking of sapience, where you're thinking about thinking. That is a higher level. You might even be thinking consciousness, which
that's not what I believe.
Is somewhat mixed with sentience, and there's like the Cambridge Declaration of Consciousness, there's the New York Declaration of Consciousness, and they outline what is sentience or consciousness, and they describe that the animals that we use are conscious.
Gotcha.
They feel pain, and they make preferences.
Would you consider an infant animal to be able to form its own preferences?
Yes.
Perfect. Would you consider an unborn animal, that same animal unborn, to be able to form its own preferences?
No.
Why not?
Well, because it's inside a womb.
The day before it was born?
It doesn't. What is your point? Can you get to your point?
My point is, if you're saying that the value of life comes from sentience, then if there is an unsentient thing, why is it any different to stab the baby cow in the womb of the mother cow?
Oh yeah, I don't think you should stab the baby at all.
But why not? That's my point.
Because that's unnecessary harm.
Is it unnecessary harm?
If they can feel pain, that's unnecessary.
Understood, but if they can feel pain, wouldn't that be perception? And if they can feel pain,
if someone can feel pain, what gives you the right to harm them?
Exactly my point. So that's what I'm saying. If a baby cow is in the womb and it can feel pain, that means it has a perception and it has a way to form that if it likes it or not. Your own definition of sentience. So why would it be okay to kill them?
I didn't say that. Why would I ever say it's okay to kill a cow?
Your argument.
Why are you putting words in my mouth?
Okay, listen.
I know. Tell me why, or I will kick you. Get to your point now.
Yes, that's not what I was saying. I'm trying to say the opposite. You have made a point saying that it's alive. Why do you have a reason to kill something that can feel pain? But you just.
What is your point? I'm vegan, man. I don't want to cause animals harm.
You told me that a baby animal in the womb is not sentient, but yet you can't kill it. So why is the value of life not sentient?
Stop. It's not a matter of being in the womb or not. It's like pain receptors, right? They have nose
what do you mean
receptors,
pain receptors?
And are they responding? They have
their brain is active.
Those are nerves.
You can monitor brain.
Okay, yes. Dude, there is a certain point where the baby is sentient. Yes.
So perfect. Exactly. So
yes.
So then
if you're going to go into abortion, though, I'm going to kick you because I don't care about that topic.
About animals, because this happens with animals as well, and it's a different perspective when it comes to animals.
I don't care. What gives you the right to use animals? I don't see how this relates.
I don't see. You're making a definitive statement against.
I'm saying you do not morally have the right to cross someone else's bodily autonomy for your benefit.
You're saying someone. This is an animal. This is
someone is sentient. Someone is sentient.
Someone
is having an experience.
What's their name?
Yes.
What's their name?
Why do they need to have a name?
Go ask
there are
them.
native groups that wouldn't name themselves. They were just a group of
go
people.
Ask them.
That's a very one way of thinking.
Let's look at the family structure.
Dude, okay, I'm going to give you one more chance. I'm going to give you one more chance.
I'll make my point.
One more chance. Do you agree that animals are sentient?
Not at the same level of humans. No.
All right, well, you have a great day, because that's ridiculous. Animals are sentient just like humans. You're confusing it with sapience. Sentience is a binary thing. You either are or are not. I don't know what the hell you were talking about. You were just yapping for freaking ever. And it was just getting on my nerves. Where were you going? Where were you going? I never want to stab a baby cow in the uterus. Where were you going with that? What was that? That was the craziest conversation. I still don't understand. I'm saying you do not have the right to cross someone's bodily autonomy. If you're a subject having an experience, why wouldn't that be a someone? They're making preferences. They prefer things. They don't want to feel pain. They usually want to continue living. What gives you the right to take that away from them and put your purpose on them? God, stabbing cows in the what the hell are you talking about? You got to be over 18.
Yes, I'm over 18.
Okay. What morally justifies you using animals?
Because they're tasty as hell.
I thought you said you were over 18. 8. Hey, Pig Daddy.
Hello.
Over 18, right?
Hey, I'm like totally opposite. I'm not liberal. I'm not woke. I'm a Marine veteran. I'd rather kill bad people than hurt animals. I have mini pigs, which I raise as dogs to live in my house. And when people talk about sentient this and that, my pigs, they feel, they learn, they cry when my dog died. I mean, it's amazing. People just don't understand, and they're the fourth smartest animal on the planet. And that's the problem with a lot of people.
Yeah.
They just forget what they knew as a kid, how loving the animals were, and as adults, they eat them now. I mean, like I said, I to this day, if
Uh-oh, you're cutting out a little bit.
because I know how loving these animals are. Oh, I'm sorry, but like I said, I'm not a total vegan because I still like cheese. What?
Oh, I was just letting you know you were cutting out. Well, do you know what they do to the cows?
Okay, I'm gonna do what?
Do you know what they do to the cows?
What do you say about
the
cows?
cheese?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I saw it. Believe me, I don't eat beef or anything. I don't eat any meat. Only thing I do a little bad is eat a little cheese.
The dairy industry. The dairy industry is the beef industry. They're
yes,
one
I
and
know.
the same.
I've seen them on.
So you're still paying for beef. Yeah. You're just not eating.
But the worst thing that I've seen is baby chickens.
Oh, Pig Daddy, you're really cutting out. I can't hear you.
You see what baby chickens they do? All right, I'm
yes,
sorry. Thanks for your stuff.
Oh no, you're fine. Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming up.
Yeah.
Check out Dominion. I
seen them put them in
the.
Yeah, I seen it. I seen some of that stuff. I just can't watch it anymore.
Oh, watch the whole thing. Wow. See, that's why you still participate in it, though.
Yeah. Well, like I said,
it's not good enough for your eyes. Why is it okay for your stomach?
Yeah. All right. Have a good day.
All right. You have a great day. If you guys can't handle watching, what happens, why are you demanding it to happen? I wonder, am I delayed? I don't know. Sorry, guys. So lately, when I download the live afterwards, the sound actually doesn't match, which is weird. All right. It shifts you guys around, so I don't remember who was where. Gotta be over 18.
Hello?
Hey, True, are you over 18?
Yes.
Okay, what year were you born?
Oh, 3?
Okay. So what morally justifies you using animals?
I mean,
in certain instances, like they're gonna unalive anyway, like in the winter when it's like hunting season, you know?
I mean, by that logic, we could do that to people.
I mean, eating people is wrong, though. I think we all know this. So,
Well, I mean, I don't disagree, but can you tell me why?
because they're people.
Yeah, but that's just you're just repeating that we're people. Like that's just a name, right? Like what does people is just a label that we give ourselves.
Who would ourselves be?
Well, you said like humans, right? People is what you're talking
Okay.
about.
All right. So humans,
So
right?
why is it inherently wrong to unnecessarily harm a human?
I mean, it's if we're talking about humans innately have human rights. I think we can both agree to this.
Well,
And
no, we
it
don't
wasn't
disagree. I want to know why.
okay.
We do
Yeah,
agree, but I want to know why.
I was prefacing. Can I explain now?
I don't know. Maybe.
All right. So yeah, just let me know when you're ready to have a conversation I can indulge.
Oh. If you're just wanting to be an a-hole, we can just move
No,
on.
that's what you're doing, but you can play the
It's
victim, I guess.
okay. I guess we're just gonna move along. You're not gonna have a conversation. You're too distracted with becoming the victim. All right, Burke. All right, you got to be over 18.
I'm 28.
Perfect. What morally justifies you using animals?
Well, what if the foundation of my moral system was the well-being of humans?
I mean, that's fine, but why can't it include animals?
Well, I mean, you can say why can't it for anything, right? Like, why can't it include plants?
Well, what is it that makes it different for humans versus other animals for you?
What makes it different?
Yeah.
Well, what makes it different is I only care about the well-being of other humans.
I know, but the way you're saying it, because you don't have any other explanation but the name of our group, is it's like the otherism, where it's like if they're outside of my group, then I can do what I want to them. They're not morally considered. So it's another type of is like racism, right? They're not my race. They're outside of my group. They therefore are not morally considered. You see how that's just an arbitrary line that leads to bad things, injustice.
Well, yeah, but I would say that caring about sentience is equally as arbitrary.
Why?
Why? Because every foundation for a moral system is arbitrary, unless you're going by
It's
religion.
so for if I can explain, sentience is a subject having an experience and making preferences on those experiences. So I guess since I'm sentient and I'm having experiences and preferences, I know that. I have a warning. I guess I bullied someone. Anyway, I'm having preferences. I don't want to be enslaved. What gives me the right then to enslave someone else for my benefit?
Well, nobody, I mean, if we're going to go down to the bottom, nobody has a right to do anything. But we have a society, and that society is built off the social contract with only humans.
So,
Go
so
ahead.
you don't think individuals have inherent rights to not be enslaved or violated against their will?
Inherent? I mean, I don't know. Do you want to get that deep into philosophy?
Yeah,
I mean,
because
the
I
only
think
thing,
before any type of law, I'm sure that if you were violated, even out in the wilderness, you still felt that was wrong. So it's
don't
not
get it
about
wrong.
legality in society. It's about, you know, what's morally right and wrong. And since we're moral agents and we can weigh that out,
Well, yeah, but see, when you say we believe that to be not okay, well, then now we're back to morals, and my morals only apply to other humans.
I know, but I'm telling you that's a very supremacist way of looking at the world. Your line is just as arbitrary as a racist person or a homophobe, a sexist. You just have this arbitrary line. There's no real reason where I'm telling you Sentience is important because they suffer. They feel joy. That's what's important.
Well, sure, and I get what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that you caring about that is equally as arbitrary.
Okay. Yes, everything is subjective. Do you not agree? Would you not agree that it is immoral for someone to come and enslave you?
Yes,
Okay. Why?
because that goes directly against my foundational morals of the well-being of humans.
Just a few. What if it was not going to hurt any other humans, though? Just you.
Well, I'm still a human, right?
But that doesn't matter for the well-being of humans.
Well, well-being of humans doesn't just mean at a mass. It just means humans. I care about you equally as much as a group of people in most sense.
Okay. So I'm walking my dog, and I need to get some exercise out, and I decide that I need convenient exercise. So I start kicking my dog for exercise, and it gives me joy. Is that moral in your eyes?
Well, I mean, yeah, as guttural as it sounds, yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to disagree right there because I think that someone kicking their dog is immoral.
Do you think that it's equally as stupid that people care about their pets so much, but also eat chicken and beef all day?
I do think that is kind of oxymoronish, yes.
Right. So I
So
believe.
you're okay with people graping dogs? That's
Okay,
pretty
well,
sick.
I get where you're going. Let's calm down a second.
Well, answer that. Is that okay?
Yeah. If you're allowed to kill and eat animals, why would it be illegal that you could do
So
other
you
things?
think it's, I want to hear you say you think it's moral to grape dogs.
Yeah. We're allowed to eat animals. Is having.
Okay. That's disgusting, man. You need help. Most people will disagree with you. Graping dogs is immoral. Graping anybody is immoral. Crossing anybody's bodily autonomy is immoral without their consent. Made me lose a little bit of hope in humanity, man. You're sick. Hey, Money.
How's it going?
Good. Are you over 18?
Yeah, I'm 26.
Okay. What morally justifies you using animals?
Well, sometimes my pocket pussy is a little cold, especially in the wintertime.
Oh, God. I don't want to hear about you and your meat. Tom. Are you over 18?
I'm 33.
All right. What morally justifies you using animals?
The same morals that justifies me using plants.
Plants are not sentient.
They do feel.
No, they are not
Yes.
sentient.
They do
They are
feel.
not sentient.
There have been
Okay.
scientific
Well,
studies
what
that
is your
prove that-
evidence? Please
There have
give
been
me your
scientific
evidence.
studies that prove that plants
Name
do
one.
in fact feel
Name
pain.
one. Name one.
Name one. The scientific study that shows that plants do in fact feel
I
pain.
want the title. There is no study that says plants feel pain. Even the ones that are looking into plant sentience, they all come to the same conclusion. Plants are not sentient. They have they have messages and signals. They do communicate. Yes, they do have some memories, but they're not sentient. They don't have brains. They don't have central nervous systems.
Okay,
They don't have nociceptors.
so any brain dead person doesn't just.
Yeah, if they're brain dead, they're not there anymore.
Okay, cool. So brain dead animals, if they're done, why shouldn't we use the resource that is available to us?
Okay, in a vacuum, if you just came across some dead animal, morally speaking, there's nothing wrong with you consuming their body. I would argue there is something wrong with you still seeing them as a resource, because if you came across a human body, you wouldn't eat them.
Yeah, I would.
But you would eat a human in a vacuum. I'm not saying you're starving.
If I'm in a vacuum and it's just me and a
dead human body.
If there's nothing else around, that is sustenance, that is
I
nutrients.
mean, that's fine.
Survival.
That's fine. Again, it's about sentience. It's just a little weird, Most people would think that's weird.
Okay, well, I care more about societal progression and well-being of whatever creature or
Okay,
sentient
in a
within the
vacuum
society.
again. In a vacuum again, you have one person and you, and they're enslaving you. Is that moral? Do you like that? Do you want it to
Why?
continue?
Why do you immediately go to slavery? But okay,
Oh, because I
weird,
want to put
weird.
you in the
That's a bit
victim's
weird.
perspective. Because I want to put you in the victim's perspective.
So okay, so you care more about
The victim,
making
yes.
somebody a victim. Okay, cool.
I'm not making someone a victim. I'm a
You
vegan.
just did.
You are making someone a victim
You
by
just
putting
did.
a
You
knife
put
in
me
their
in the
throat.
position of a victim.
Tom, do you want to have a conversation or do you want to act like a child?
I'm having a conversation. You're the one running around.
Okay, well, you have a nice day. Go find another live to go troll. I don't really want to waste my time with you. Hey, John Boy, are you over 18?
Yes, ma'am. I'm 41.
Okay.
Can you hear
What
me?
morally
Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're great.
Okay.
What morally justifies
All
you
right.
using animals?
Well, I raise cattle. I'm a cattle rancher, and that's how we feed America. And I just got the gist that you're vegan, so you don't eat meat, correct?
Yeah, I don't use animals at all.
Okay, so the people that do eat beef and that's their way to survive, how is it not okay? I raise cattle, I feed them up, sell them, and we eat them.
Is it good for the animals?
Good
How do the
for
animals
them.
feel about this? Yeah, how do they feel about this process?
I don't think they know.
Yeah, it sounds like you're using someone without their consent.
Yeah, whatever the case is, that's what we're doing. I'm
Well,
raising
what else
beef,
have we done in the
feeding
past
America.
that we now frown upon where we used someone else for our own benefit?
I'm not trying to argue and be a jerk to you. I promise that. I respect what you have to say.
Okay.
There's people that survive
Well,
off of need
I
to be.
understand. But there was a time when this America made profit off of the backs of humans.
Right.
Well, okay, I don't know what that sound is. It's too loud though.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm feeding cattle.
Got it. Yeah. So
Anyways,
there were times when we used other sentient beings for our own use at their expense and our benefit, and we found it was injustice because that was a sentient being that had an experience and we were ignoring it.
Right. Yeah,
So I'm saying
I don't know.
I understand that there's industries based on it, but I don't care about the slaver as much as I care about the slave. I care about their freedom and their autonomy over your occupation. Do I want you to have a transitional system in place? Absolutely, and there are some already. There's the Rowdy Girl Sanctuary. She has a program called the Transformation.
Yeah. What are people supposed to eat if they don't eat chickens or cows?
Plants.
Plants. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're supposed to survive off of plants.
Yeah, we can. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics is the largest body of nutrition professionals, and they all agree that a vegan diet is safe and healthy for all stages of life.
No way people can survive off of plants. There's no way.
Yeah, it's possible. There are people that have been vegan for like 60 plus years. It's absolutely possible. And in science, what we find as a pattern is those that eat the least amount of the least amount of animal products and the most amount of plant products live the longest and have higher quality lives.
So plants.
So as far as health goes, it's actually a positive side effect of being vegan. But veganism isn't even about that. I personally would be vegan even if it wasn't healthy. But yes, we can feed the world in a vegan world. In fact, we would save land.
Have you ever had beef?
Of course.
Okay. You just don't like it, or you just don't agree with it?
No, I used to actually be a troll to other like vegetarians and vegans. I used to make fun of them.
Okay. I get it. I get it. I didn't come on here to be a jerk or an ass. I just saw your deal.
I want you to understand, do you agree that the lives that you're raising are sentient?
These cattle are
But
put on this earth to eat.
regardless, do you agree they're sentient?
I don't know. I don't.
Do you know what sentience is?
Yes and no. Maybe you can tell me. I can tell you if that's what I was thinking or not.
Okay, it just means that they're having an experience of the world. You know, unlike a plant, right? A plant just reacts to stimuli, and animals more are experiencing, and they're making preferences on their experiences. They usually prefer to be more comfortable. They usually they're social. They have a preferred kind of food, maybe, or a spot to hang out. They have dislikes, right? They don't like to be uncomfortable. They prefer to be at a certain temperature, I'm sure, near certain groups. I'm sure there's individuals that your cattle don't like to be around.
Oh yeah, they don't like you to drive out in a vehicle. They'd rather see a horse because that's what they're used to.
Okay, so exactly. So they're sentient beings. So, and we also are sentient beings. We're humans. You know, we also are making preferences. We prefer to be comfortable and not be harmed. So if that's true, what gives us the right then to put our purpose on someone else who's having an experience of the world?
Yeah, good question. Cattle are put on this earth, like I said, ma'am, to eat plants.
Do you see how that's so dismissive of their sentience, of them as an individual? You're ignoring them because of some phrase that you are just remembering. And if you're referring to your Christian religion, is what I'm assuming.
Correct.
Okay. I would suggest there's a documentary that just came out called Christspiracy. And it talks about, they look at the original holy text, the sea scrolls and all that. Yeah. And they look at some words that were mistranslated. And you might be interested in seeing it. It's called Christspiracy. Just look up that name.
Okay. It's just nature, though. Like, what about these animals in the wild?
Well, what about the cows that you're raising as natural?
What's natural about it?
Mm-hmm.
They're getting all natural everything. Antibiotics. They're getting worked in the
That's
in the
not
spring
natural.
Fed.
Antibiotics are not natural. Their breed is not natural. We've literally man-made
antibiotics
them.
Or not, but they're only getting certain if they get sick. That's what they're getting.
I understand. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying natural would be like a deer in the woods.
Right.
Right? Cows, pigs, chickens, they've all been engineered at this point. So they're no longer a natural animal. So it's no longer a natural system that you're using. So I don't know why you're saying it's natural.
Fish, correct? Right or wrong?
Well, it's in that documentary. It sounds like it was bread and not fish or some kind of relish.
Okay. But how do you get bread and relish?
They look at the actual original texts on those words, and they show you the translations of those words. Yeah. I think you'd really like it. So I am not religious, but I still found that movie to be pretty informative.
Yeah, the movie. Yeah. I'll check it out. I appreciate it. I saw this and I was like, I want to see what she's talking about, and I don't agree, but this is how I make a living.
That's fine. I do like that you're curious. It's just, you're not, it doesn't sound like you fully recognize that those animals are sentient, and like, there's no, other than they were put on this earth to be used. I would argue, the beginning of your text is the Garden of Eden. And from my understanding, it was supposed to be it was the perfect creation. Eden, the Garden of Eden. And it was vegan. Nobody was using anybody, and there was no death.
Right.
So if God's original 1.0 plan was vegan, it wasn't until, from my understanding, sin entered the world, and that's when everybody started using each other. So I don't understand using the justification of sin to continue to do awful things when you should be trying to live as close to your God's original plan as possible, right?
Yeah. The only thing I don't agree with, I would just suggest people shooting animals for their mounts, their heads, their horns, the hide, the rugs. That's one thing that I don't agree with. It happens all the time, and that's not right. But we need animals to survive.
I do agree with you that it's wrong that they take their heads, but can you tell me why you think it's wrong?
Well, because they need to use that meat to whether they feed
Well,
themselves or
why
somebody.
does it matter though? Why does it matter that they need to eat their flesh? Like, why does it matter that they kill them and not use them? Why is that bad?
Because it's a waste.
I mean, why does that matter? Why is that bad? Why is it a waste? What are they wasting?
Meat.
But why is that a waste? I don't understand. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just going back into the earth, right? You could say it's even giving nutrients back to the soil. So why is it wrong to take someone's life when it's not necessary?
I appreciate your time. I'm gonna drop down. I don't want this to turn south. And all right, take care. Have a good day.
All right. Well, I strongly suggest you think about that. Why is it wrong to take a human life, but right to take an animal life? All right. Well, you have a good day. There is no moral justification. You can maybe justify survival, but it is still immoral. Oh, hi, Keith. Hey, what's up?
Hey, we're back.
Yes, welcome back. It's good to have a vegan. I had a rough start. My first person, I don't know where they were going. They were trying to say something about me stabbing a cow in the uterus because we were talking about whether it was sentient in the uterus. I was like, whoa, is this going to like an abortion thing? Like, I don't even know. And he was just adamant that I was stabbing a cow in the uterus, and I was just really confused. It was just stressful.
I I was busy.
Yeah, I know.
I made a post on someone's page, like it was like vegans combining 30 different carcinogens to make an egg, blah blah blah. And I just left it's basically, it was like a flow chart of like kind of showing like vegan logic for not harming animals. It was like harming animals is bad and it's not necessary. Go vegan is like the flow chart. And then like below is the flow chart for like the non-vegan mind, where it's like but canines, ancestors though, and all these different proteins, all these different things that they every excuse. And I just like wrote non-vegans coming up with 30 different proverbial hoops to jump through to justify unnecessary harm, and it resulted in like 120 comments in like 5 minutes.
I'm sure most of them too were repeating what was already in the image, right?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Oh my god.
They started off by being like, no, it's just for the taste pleasure, dude. And I was like, okay, so kicking a puppy for pleasure is now justified? Or like, no, it's also justified because so nice hoops there. I love the extra hoops.
Pretzel.
How many more do we got?
Yeah, exactly. Well, are you ready for some more?
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Again, I think it mixed you guys up. I feel like everyone's kind of... I never know where to pull from. I'm just going to pull from the top right now. Rumple Foreskin. Great. That's a great name. Uh-oh. Well, I guess you just got to grace us with your lovable name. Yeah. All right. Well, maybe leave the app and come back or something. Mystic the Foxbee. Gotta be over 18.
Hello.
Hi, are you over 18?
Yes, I'm 23.
Okay. Right on. What morally justifies using animals?
In my opinion, right, I feel as if the meat industry is not exactly what it used to be, of course. And I feel like it does need a change to the meat industry because for me, I feel like it would be better if the animals got to live normal lives before eating them. To me, when it comes to eating animals, that it's just like the food chain. I mean, like in nature, we hunted. Like we've been hunters for a long time, and understand we don't hunt anymore, so it's not the same. And we've been hunters for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. We might have started off eating nuts and berries, but we've been hunters way before everything was industrialized. So I feel like, yes, the way things have been industrialized has made way more waste and way more like pollutants in the air and everything and above. But I personally do not think I'm going to stop eating meat. I think that there does need to be a reform to the meat industry and that these animals should be able to live longer lives before we. No, we don't really hunt in that sense. When it comes to cows, pigs, and chickens, most people raise them. It's not the hunting, bringing it back, sharing it among our people, our
All
families.
right, I get where you're going.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Keith.
I was going to say, so when you lay out an argument like this, you make it, the way you're laying it out, it makes it sound like you're trying to say that consuming animals is necessary. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have evidence to back that up, like scientific peer-reviewed evidence showing that it's necessary to consume animals? Because we can absolutely do that on the contrary side of it.
I feel like it's something that has been like over the years of evolution, it's more a part of our palate now. You know what I'm saying? So regardless, without all of the extra stuff, we have went through this time of evolution to where animals are naturally a part of our diet in this moment, even our teeth. And has changed. It's not exactly the same as it was however many years ago when humans were just eating nuts and fruit. And people were saying we can't digest it. Well, we have enzymes in our stomach now to
We're not
digest it.
talking about, we're not saying that it's impossible to digest animal products. I mean, that would be insane. We're not, we're not stupid. We absolutely understand that you can consume animal products. It will digest and you will absorb nutrients. But that's what it
Exactly.
means. That's what it means to be an omnivore. You have the capacity
Exactly.
as an omnivore to extract nutrients from either plant-based products or animal-based products. That has
Right.
always been the case.
And I'm saying
So,
as evolution
so
passed, we went from that just being
uh,
herbivores to being omnivores. And in that sense, I feel
no,
like
we've
just
always been
expecting
we've always been
humans as a
omnivores.
whole to just take that off of the
It,
plate is in a way unconceivable. Even
so,
if
so
a
Mystic, not
third
to
of the
cut you off, but
population went
we've
vegan right
always
now, that
been
wouldn't stop the meat industry in its.
Mystic, not to cut you off, but we've always been omnivores. That's not something that has ever really changed. You could maybe extrapolate at like one point, like I don't know, like uh 10 million years ago or something insane, like so far back that the evolutionary line of it doesn't really even come close to being applicable to what's happening right now with our bodies evolutionarily. The point again I was trying to make was that as omnivores, we have the capacity to extract and utilize nutrients from either plants or from animals. It doesn't have to be both combined. You can be just as healthy consuming a fully plant based diet, and you can also be healthy consuming both combined. Though absolutely excessive consumption of animal products does come with risks. But yeah, in terms of like, yeah, can you consume both and be healthy? Sure. Can you consume only plant based options and be healthy? Absolutely. And that would be the point as to why veganism isn't a health stance. It is a ethical stance. So when we understand that we can consume without causing unnecessary harm, that is the key element. So unnecessary harm, where we can get all of our dietary nutrient intake, blah blah blah. That is the stance that we're holding here. So hypothetically, for just a moment, ignore everything that you may currently believe about this. Just hypothetically, if you were convinced 100% that you could be totally healthy on a fully plant-based diet, would that now be something to strive for?
Oh, okay. I can unmute myself. Okay. So No.
Okay, so it's not nutrition then that is guiding your principle on this, it sounds like.
I understand what you're saying, that I could still have just as healthy lifestyle with just plants, but unfortunately, I do enjoy the taste of meat. Now that
Well, think about that for a
you say, I
moment.
like what morally justifies you using animals, right? That's the question at hand. Like I said, I feel, and when it comes to unnecessary harm, I said I do feel kind of bad at the end of the day because the meat industry itself is fucked up. Now, I said that. I said I feel like I would feel better if there was a change in the meat industry about eating meat, but I still want to eat meat at the end of the day. I feel like
Right, but
not
I want you to
taking
think. I
taking
want you to
that
think about this for a moment.
completely out of
So,
my diet is not like an option for me because it's been something that I have been doing since I've lived. So
yeah,
it would
that's
be
the case
such
for
a
virtually all vegans that you encounter out in the world. Virtually all vegans have been consuming animal products until like, usually their early 20s or later. Like
right.
I
But
was 20, I was
my point
26 when
is
I was 26 when I made any kind of relevant changes here. So again, what I really wanted to find out,
28.
you were talking about like, taste pleasure and like you really enjoy meat. Have you ever just had plain boiled chicken?
no.
No, and probably the reason why that is because it tastes god awful. Like I had that many times growing up because it was kind of like a bit of a poverty meal. It was just like plain boiled chicken with peas and mashed potatoes. And quite honestly, the things that saved that dish were the peas and the mashed potatoes because, yeah, I mean, chicken by itself is a canvas. It takes on the herbs, the spices, the rubs, the marinades, the ways in which you cook it. Is it slow roasted? Is it smoked? Is it, whatever it is? These are the things that give it flavor. Like, think for a moment comparatively, two dishes, right? We could look at chicken tikka masala, and then we could look at tofu tikka masala. The overwhelming taste pleasure that you're getting from that is not really the chicken and it's not really the tofu, it's the tikka masala. And you can do certain things with tofu and other things, and you can
But the
implement
tofu
things like
isn't. I'm
seitan
not
to
going to be
produce
able
a
to rip
different.
apart the tofu. I'm not going to be able to like take little
No,
pieces of the
so
tofu,
I
and
was
there's
about
no
to, I was just about
skin
to say that.
on the
So
tofu to like,
I was just
you
about to get to
know,
that. So
it's
in
not
terms
the
of
same dining experience.
texture, you can consume something like seitan, which is something that's produced from wheat, and it has a very similar mouthfeel and texture to, say, chicken. It's what is utilized to produce uh, vegan mock meats sometimes. It's very, very close. Like we're talking about like maybe a 10 to 15% difference between the two in terms of texture. Um, I don't view these 5 to 15% difference in taste or texture being something that now justifies the mass harm and exploitation of animals.
Okay, and then my point was, again, what I was trying to say, even if like a third of people went vegan, I wouldn't think that that would stop the meat industry.
It wouldn't stop
It
it, but
would
it would
have, it would
drastically
have,
impact the supply and demand because that's supply and demand. That's economics 101. If one third of the population did go vegan, that would be insane. Like just like
but
I
it
don't
would,
know how old you are,
right,
but
you said it would
uh,
stop the supply and demand, but it wouldn't stop the abuse of the animals in their situations. Even if it
no,
went down, it would
well,
still
no,
be
of
happening.
course
So my
that's
point
talking
is,
about at
even
one
if you're
third.
saying
That
more, well, let me finish my thought for a second. I understand where you're coming from, but I'm saying unless everyone was to just magically turn vegan one day, this would not implicate any change on the using in the meat industry in their practices. If that makes sense.
Well,
I'm
it probably
I'm
would to
saying
some extent
like
because they would have a much smaller market and less demand pushing them to produce extreme amounts. So they probably would have changes in their welfare standards, even from 1/3 of the world going vegan, just affecting the
do
animals
you
that are alive.
honestly feel
But
like
the
people
point I was
care
trying to
about the
but what I was
welfare?
trying to point out is that if 1/3 of the world goes vegan, that would be an acceleration of the movement in which it would extrapolate outward to eventually at some point being 2/3 and then potentially being like 9/10 and then whatever, the point would be it doesn't something doesn't reach like 1/3 acceptance. Like 1/3 of the population wouldn't understand that it's wrong to cause harm to all sentient life, including animals and humans, and have it just stop there. That would be a movement that would be pushing and taking off from that point very heavily. So we're not talking about something that reaches 1/3 and just stops. And we're not talking about perfectionism or the capacity for something to reach 100% acceptance. We are trying to do the best that we can with what we have. So every single person who goes vegan and plant-based, that makes an impact in the total amount of animals that are harmed every single year. That is the direct supply and demand element of this.
I understand. I also get what you're saying but that's a hypothetical. I'm saying that that's not something that is achievable. I'm saying that I don't believe that standpoint, even the 1/3 of people being vegan, even with the education behind it, I don't believe that is something that is achievable, considering most people grew up
Mystic,
eating meat their whole
could I
life.
ask you? Could I ask you a question? What percentage of the population do you think is vegan right now?
Shoot, probably like 1 out of every 20, probably.
It's 1%.
Yeah, so even for it to go
Okay,
from
so
1%
look
to
at
a
all the
third,
vegan options. Just look at all the vegan options that are available right now, and we're only at 1%. If we went to 30%, you would have so many different options. You wouldn't miss animal flesh. You would have everything, because 30% is huge. That's huge.
I don't know how old you are, Mystic, but like when I was a
I'm
kid,
23.
wandering the store in the 90s with my mom, I could go through the dairy aisle and I'd never see a plant-based option that existed on the shelves once. I could go walk through the
Exactly.
meat section. I wouldn't see a single plant-based mock meat, whatever thing once. The fact is, we can go walk through freezer sections, dairy sections, all these things. Like, obviously, we've always had like fruits and vegetables and grains and legumes and things like that. That's always been available. But in terms of like even just like these specialized things that like really just target at people who are either vegan or plant-based, we see like a huge amount of these things appearing in stores everywhere. So there is an actual tangible shift you can visually see at virtually every store that you go to, especially most like retail grocery stores.
But the whole thing is, a lot of the population already knows of the vegan option and still don't choose it, even if they know it's not morally right, or if they have that feeling of, oh, it could be wrong. I'm saying what you guys are trying to achieve by doing these lives and by trying to make people vegan, in that sense, what you're trying to achieve is something that is so far off that I don't believe that it's
Mystic, it's a
anything that's
rights movement. It's a
sustainable.
rights movement. It's a rights movement for animals. So just like every other rights movement, there's opposition.
But
And yeah,
why?
that does make it hard.
Real life, I have a question to ask. Real life, what makes us so different from the other like with the whole right to animals, right? Okay, right. You guys are laughing, real shit though.
I mean, do
You
you
guys
do
wouldn't
you
bat
do
an
you
eye when it comes to
do you do
carnivores
other things
trying
that
to hunt
animals do? Like
Yes,
carnivores
yes,
eat
yes.
other babies. Are you going to eat someone else's baby and be like
I
lions do
probably
it?
already have. Not like somebody's
What?
actual, human baby, but probably
That's
already
what I'm
ate an
saying.
anim's
That's what
baby.
I'm
That's what we're
saying.
talking
That's
about.
what
That's
Real,
what
real,
Catherine
real
I'm
life,
talking
you
about a
talking
already
human
ate.
baby.
an animal's baby. You know, like it's not
That is true. That is
exactly.
true.
You
But
know,
I'm talking
but
about a
I'm
human
saying,
baby. I do appreciate the consistency and the thinking,
yes,
but I'm
but
talking about a human baby.
I mean,
Would that be a justification?
most of the animals that are carnivores that are more, I guess, more sentient, I guess you would say, or have more brain power, they don't really do the cannibalistic rituals as much
Well,
as the
some
smaller.
of them do that. They do that because they're creating dominance, right? Like they want to be the lead of the pride, or they don't like that cub because it's too small or something. Sometimes they'll just leave them. I'm not necessarily talking about just the cannibalization. I'm just trying to point out that just because wild animals do something, that's not a justification for you to do it. So you're kind of cherry picking their activities, and you go, they eat other animals, but you don't want to do any of the other things. None of the other things they do are
Here's the
moral.
difference between the two. I can say the words, "Hey, do you understand that unnecessary harm is wrong?" to you, and you understand the words coming out of my mouth. I can't say those words to a lion and ever have them understand me.
Right.
That is the
But
difference
with the
between the two.
moral, the whole moral standpoint, I'm saying is though, you guys will not bat an eye for a lion going after its prey. So
Because we are
why
moral
an eye
agents.
at
We're
as
moral
humans
agents.
going after our own
You
prey
can weigh out
animals?
what's right and wrong.
But it's in that same sense, it wouldn't be wrong because that would be our animal of prey. That would be the
But
animal
they're
we
not.
hunted before the meat industry
You don't
was
need
industrialized.
So,
so
Mystic, if you believe that's the equator that like needs to happen, then go vegan and go fight for lions to stop attacking animals. It's like that's your thing holding you back personally from going vegan. Like this is more of like a
No, that's not
hypocrisy
like
type
that's not the
thing.
thing personally holding me back from going
Right,
vegan.
then there's
I
no point
actually
to bring
like
it up.
the dining
It's
experience
again
itself,
why
and
we
it doesn't
avoid it
change
is
the
because
flavor.
there's no point,
In
and
some meats, you
it's
don't
something
need to
that
season like
impacts.
ham. Like ham tastes
It's
good without all the extras. I mean, we eat deli meat all the time, and
spam.
a lot of that stuff is not seasoned. Just
Spam is seasoned in salt and many other things. It's not just meat.
well,
It's not
I didn't say
just
spam. I said like deli meats that
yeah.
people
Deli
eat
meats
on the
are also
daily.
cured in salts and many other things. They aren't just the meat.
But you guys also like were stating, oh, we like season. All the season salt is just one singular thing that's a
that's
No,
what he was just
that is the
saying. Everything
point.
you just
It's
listed is seasoned.
yeah. That
Everything you just
even
listed.
salt like that it's there to hit a certain taste profile in your mouth. If it's just plain meat, like yeah, it's pretty devoid. It can have some flavor. I never denied that. I said it can have
right. That's
some
what I was
amount of flavor,
saying.
but the amount of flavor that it has is very baseline. It's very rudimentary and doesn't have much going on for it. Is the point I was making.
I mean, the whole thing doesn't even matter because taste pleasure doesn't justify taking someone's freedom and using them for your benefit. Animals are a sentient being. So to you, what gives you the right to cross their bodily autonomy and use their body for your sensory pleasure?
What gives me the right
Yeah.
is the food chain. That's what gets me the right.
Yeah, but I mean, a food chain, you're not even in a food chain. A food chain is usually actually just a piece of a web, because in nature there are no such thing as like a food chain. Usually it's an interaction of different creatures, and it's a transfer of energy.
So in that
you're
food
taking,
chain,
if you want to talk about energy use, you're using too much energy because we're using all of our land and a ton of plants to feed animals when we could just eat the material directly and not enslave a bunch of sentient beings for taste pleasure. Like it doesn't make sense to me why you get the right to violate their autonomy just because someone tastes good. That's what Jeffrey Dahmer thought, but we put him in prison. Why?
because it was another person, though. Like,
well, what's wrong with doing that to another person?
I mean, because one, when it comes to cannibalism, you can literally get diseases
It's
that
only
like
if you eat the
brain
brain.
eating.
It's only the brain.
Like brain
It's
eating,
only the brain.
amoeba,
Just
and
don't eat
all
the
of
brain.
that.
The rest of the flesh is just as
But
dangerous as eating
people,
wild animal flesh.
but people ourselves, like we have like carry all these different type of like
So do animals.
STDs and all of this. I mean, I
So
wouldn't
what?
go and seek someone knowing and try to eat somebody knowing that they could have like
So
HIV
let me get
and
this
give
straight.
that to
Let me get this
myself. I
straight. The
mean, like,
reason why it's wrong to use people is because it might harm you. It's not about that you are going to rob someone of their experience of the world. That's not the immoral part.
yes, that's immoral too. But
Okay,
I'm
good.
also
I'm glad we
speaking
That's
agree.
what we're
I
of
just
trying to
want to make
focus
sure.
on.
that's immoral too. But I'm also
Okay,
speaking
good.
behind
That's
the
what I want to make
health
sure. It's
of
immoral.
it.
Let's
It's
find out
not.
the other stuff. That's fine. It doesn't even matter. The point that I'm trying to get to is that it's immoral to take someone's life, that wants to continue living, without their consent. And I'm glad we agree on that. Now I'm going to
But
ask you, what is the difference
but
then between the animals and the humans that makes it
but
okay to take their life,
one of the
but not
differences that you
ours?
guys pointed out between us is that we can speak to each other. We can't speak to these animals.
There are humans.
They
There
don't
are
have
humans
the
I can't
same.
communicate with. There are
But
humans we
they
can't communicate with. We still
but
protect
we
them, right? Or we find it moral to protect them.
but those same humans that we can't communicate with have found ways to communicate, whether that's body language, sign language,
That is not
It
always the
doesn't,
case.
eye,
yeah,
facial
and it doesn't matter,
expressions,
Mystic. It doesn't
expressions of
matter. Animals
happiness.
communicate too. They communicate too. They don't want to be used most of the time. They definitely don't like having a knife dragged across their throat. But do we listen?
No, because they're not on the same level of sentience as we are.
But we have humans that are, well, sentience is a binary thing. You're talking about their intelligence or
Right,
their
they're not.
sapience, right? How aware they
Yeah,
are.
we have
Yes,
humans that lack this as well.
Yeah. Animals
but
are very
going back to
intelligent. I
my
think you're dumbing
previous
them.
argument,
Mystic, please.
would
Mystic,
it
stop for a
be
second.
okay?
Please. Okay, thank you. Sorry. I muted you. You can unmute yourself. But I do want to make the point that animals are actually quite intelligent. Pigs are of the intelligent of like 4-year-olds. Same, cows almost similar. They're just as smart as toddlers. So, yeah, that's pretty intelligent, even though they can't speak your language. So what gives you the right to put a toddler-like mindset, through the systems that, like how we use animals? Like, I assume you would say
At the same
using a
time,
child would be wrong,
no,
right?
I mean, it would be okay, but at
Using a
that
child like
same
we do
thing,
animals would
in
be
the
wrong,
same
right?
thing, they're not the same species as us. So whether we're
Okay, did you hear what
regarding
I
it to
said
a
though? Did you hear
toddler,
what I said? Did you hear what I
yeah,
said though?
yes, and I heard what you said,
That
but I'm
that
saying
animals are the same
animals,
cognitive as like cows and pigs.
animals, but a toddler can read, write, and learn
Pigs can learn how to
you
play video games.
but a pig will never be able to write a sentence, so I
Well,
can't.
maybe they do. It's just not in the way we understand. We don't even understand how these animals, how their social systems work. We're just using them. Like they have communication systems that we don't understand
I mean,
yet.
pigs are smart enough to be trained to play video games. Like they're incredibly smart beings. They have the intelligence of a 4-year-old. Is the equated amount that science sees when they analyze their intellectual levels. So, I mean, every time we take the life of a pig unnecessarily, like it's from their
But
stance, like
in that sense, it's not unnecessary that their life being taken because it's being
Okay,
what do you
used.
Mystic,
mean?
again, I don't think you're letting it sink in that that's like a 4-year-old's mindset. It's a child, it's a baby. These animals are like
I feel like I
babies,
would
they're like
understand if this
toddlers.
meat was
They're
going to
very
waste,
intelligent, but they're
but it's
scared.
not. It's
So,
the
so,
meat isn't
so, Mystic, we're
going to waste. Like it's
how is it?
something
We
that
already went over this, and you already agreed that it's not necessary. Are you bringing it back that it is necessary to consume animals for health?
I'm saying that the consumption of animals is not a waste if they're being consumed, though. even
No, it
though
isn't waste because it's like a massive toll on the environment and resource misuse and water and countless other things. If you're talking about waste in things like that, it's horribly wasteful, not only to their lives but also all of the misuse of resources that we could put in. Like, if you don't know, if there was a study on this by Cornell a little while
well,
ago.
let
I
me
can't remember
ask you
exactly,
something.
but
Let me
the
ask
the
you something.
study.
What would be
Hold
the
on,
goal
I'm in
point?
the middle of talking. So, the study basically found that if you took all of the food that we produce for animals in the U.S. alone, so all of the crops that we produce to feed the livestock specifically, and you instead redirected that towards crops that could be used to feed humans, that would be enough to feed up to 800 million people. And there's currently 780 million people on this planet starving. So we could quite literally end world hunger from just the US alone making that kind of shift. Imagine if the entire world were to make that kind of shift. The amount of utilization of land and resources and all these things that we could use to better both ourselves, the environment, and everything in between is astronomical. Like, we would require about 25% the amount of land that we currently use in agriculture to feed up to 10 billion humans.
I also don't, and in that same sense, though, like mentioned earlier, these animals were genetically modified to a sense that I like just setting them free in the wild, like they wouldn't
We're
be.
not going to do that. Where the stance of veganism is not to take already domesticated animals and release them to the wild. It would be the slow elimination of domesticated animals and not creating more.
So, what would happen to those domesticated animals?
Right. All you can think of really, or all you need to think of is essentially there's going to be quintessentially like farmer B or farmer A and farmer B. So farmer A doesn't go vegan. So farmer A doesn't care about the animals whatsoever. And in this context, they realize, well, a bunch of people are going vegan. I am not making enough profits to make this worth my time anymore. Farmer A is either going to sell his animals to another farmer to have them take them on and utilize them, uh, and then that will also eventually shrink over time too. And then the other option for this farmer would be, okay, well, I'm done with this. This is just going to be easier for me to send all these animals to the slaughterhouse. This is the final time, and the cycle is over. And then he's out of that business. Farmer B, who says, I'm doing this for ethical reasons. I'm going vegan. And we have examples of this, like farmers who were dairy farmers and they swapped to producing like mushrooms and other things in place of this. But they didn't get rid of the animals that they had. They just have opted to take care of the animals that they currently have. So they allow them to live out the remainder of their life on their land. And that would be the optimal route is just giving them the grace of allowing them to live out their lives on your land if possible. If that's not possible, they would look into sending the animals to a sanctuary. And then the very final option, and this would be the least ideal of all of them, but at the very least it ends the cycle, they would do what Farmer A was doing in the last option, is send them to their final slaughter and then be done with it. The cycle is over. I will not participate in this any longer. So either way, none of these involve opening the gates and allowing these animals to just run free. That would be
But they would still be in captivity in that same sense.
Yes, but it would be horribly irresponsible, just like it would be horribly irresponsible for someone to just let loose every single dog and cat, etc., out into the wild. We're not about doing things like that. That would be horribly irresponsible for us, them, as well as the wild animals and ecosystems that they would massively impact. We don't want to do that.
But they would still be within captivity, and a lot of these meat, like major meat.
What's better is keeping them in captivity till the end of their natural lives and allowing them to live and allowing them to live out their natural lives within the safety of of
But
arm's reach.
that comes back to
Or
my original point. I said my original point was that the meat industry is fucked up, and I feel like I
well,
would
no, this is
feel
about
better.
slowly ending it. We're not consuming these animals. We're not perpetuating the production. We're not going to let them just keep getting pregnant and producing more and more and more and more and more, or artificially
But I mean,
inseminating them and
even
producing more and more and more. We would be looking after them, not allowing them to get pregnant, and
okay,
allowing them to die.
not allowing not allowing them to get pregnant and making them die off in that sense. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
And so to you and to you guys, it's more
You
ethical to
you
let
might need a
them
history
die
lesson on this
off
to begin with.
than
So
Mystic, I have a question
do
for
you know
you.
what animal the cow comes from?
uh, like thought cows were like naturally in the wild,
No.
but we
So
just
cows come from an
modified them
animal
to be
called the
fatter.
auroch. Cows come from an animal called the auroch. Chickens come from an animal called the red jungle fowl. Sheep come
Mm.
from an animal called the mufflon. These are animals that we took out of the wild. They were doing fine without humans intervening with them. They were part of the natural ecosystem in which they lived. And we took them out of these places, brought them into our captivity. We domesticated them. We broke them over many generations, selectively breeding them year over year to eventually lead to what we now call the cow or the chicken. They look nothing like their original ancestors at this point that we began domesticating close to 4 to 10,000 years ago. So the animals that we're talking about not perpetuating are animals that shouldn't exist in the first place. The animals that they should be are already extinct, short of the mufflon and the wild turkey. We can still find the wild variants of those two, but there's no more red jungle fowls. There's no more aurochs. All we have are these Frankenstein animals that are far beyond measure of what they should ever have been. So that's what we're talking about, not perpetuating and not continuing to live on this planet. You can look at animals, say like the pug,
I mean, like
who has
we've
been
in
severely
that sense. I mean, in a lot of animals we have bred specifically for human, use
right, and that's
outside
wrong.
of cows and cattle and sheep. I mean, if that's the sense, you would also want the if that's the sense, right? To let these species go extinct because we're using them as humans.
Okay,
That's
Mystic, this
under the
leads me to
same
my
guise.
question. Why do you care for their welfare so much if you're just going to stick them anyway?
Because I feel like that's a good
If
question.
abuse, if
Wait a
abuse
minute,
is
wait a minute,
bad,
wait a
okay,
minute.
that's fine.
Let me think about my answer.
Sure.
Because one, with the way that all these antibiotics and hormones and stuff, like we see now, like teenagers looking 5, 10 years older than what they used to look like because of how much
That doesn't
stuff is
have to do
being
with
put
anything to do with their
into
welfare.
milk and
Nothing to do with welfare.
wait. Let me finish my thought.
Okay.
Let me finish my thought.
Okay.
So, like, and even now, like, a lot of the meat is more carcinogenic than ever. With all the stuff that they're putting into it, I feel like it would be a way healthier option for all humans if they were raised normally, and
You're
not
not
just
answering the
pumped
question. You're
full
not
of
answering the
all this
question.
stuff.
Why do you care about welfare if you're just going to stick them anyway?
Because I feel like it would
Why
be
care about their welfare? Why care? If I don't think do you know why we have factory farming? Do you know why it exists?
because so many people eat meat.
Because of the high demand and the toll it's taking on our environment. So they consolidate it to reduce its impacts and to make it more efficient. Animals in factory farms fatten up faster. They require less feed. You know, they're toxic to the local area, but they concentrate it so that it's not as much. And we wouldn't be able to meet the demand for flesh that we have right now without it. Right now, it takes up 83% of our ag land. And we're not even feeding everybody. We have starving children. And if we got rid of animal ag, if you stopped voting with your dollar to enslave sentient beings, we could reduce our land use, our ag land use, by 75%. And we could feed all those starving children and then some. But you keep voting with your dollar to keep enslaving some sentient being for your taste pleasure. And you're literally robbing the food out of children's mouths for your taste pleasure. And it's fine if you didn't know that before.
Somebody that might be able to come back. Explain to her what you just explained to me, because I was like feeling like that's kind of more where I'm trying to lean towards. I just can't get it out that way that you just said it. Wait, come back. My brother has a better explanation of why I rather have the animals living fuller, healthier lives without all the antibiotics and all of this stuff.
Again, though, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if, it takes more resource. I just told you there's starving children in the world. If you have these free-range animals, we have to increase our land use, increase our resource use. We're already on the brink of starving people. Do you understand? Mystic, you're on mute.
Yeah, yes, I understand. But at the same sense,
you're just thinking me. I need my taste pleasure. Come on, we gave you so many options. You just are not thinking about the victim. What if you were the victim? What if someone wanted to eat your body?
Okay, hello. Okay, so we are not animals. So I just
we are animals. We are animals.
We're not eating each other. Is what I'm saying. So most people don't eat meat. From my understanding, it's because of the psychological warfare they go through before they're killed, and then they come into our bodies with that same type of energy.
No, it has to do with the exploitation.
I didn't ask any questions for any answers. I'm letting you know what I was.
Right, but to clarify, it has to do with the direct and unnecessary exploitation of animals. That is why we are against it.
Okay,
that has nothing to do with that.
That doesn't have anything to do with me eating meat.
It
does. Yes, it does.
I'm not exploiting animals, so it doesn't.
Yes, you are.
How?
By using them, by demanding they be enslaved and fattened for you.
I'm getting my nutrients from meat, and you're getting yours from animals.
I'm not getting mine from animals, no. I'm getting mine from plants.
I mean, from plants, but that's the same thing. I'm getting.
So you're filtering the same nutrients through their body. You're just
getting
using
them
their body
plants,
to filter.
and I'm getting my same ones from animals.
You know what the difference is? You know what the difference is? Plants are not sentient. Animals are sentient.
But you're
animals
killing
feel
plants.
Pain. Plants are not
feel pain
sentient.
as well.
No, they do not. And if you're saying they do, you're going against all science, because there's no science that says that plants are sentient. And if you do think that, I would like you to supply me one study.
So plants don't feel anything when you're chopping them up.
They don't feel pain. They don't have nociceptors, which are the nerves that we have that feel pain.
They don't have a central processing unit to be able to bring all that information that they could be taking in and process it into pain.
Wouldn't having to make everything into plants, wouldn't we still have to use more land and stuff?
No, I already explained this. If we don't have to feed the animals, there's so much land we can even rewild it and still feed 10 billion people. We would feed everybody, and we would grow fewer plants.
Well, plants definitely do feel things.
That's great that you feel that way. That's your religion. That's your religion, but you have no science to back it up. It is a religion because you have no science behind it. Give me one study. One study.
This is what I know to be
one
true.
One study.
Plants also sing. They produce music.
You're just talking. Okay, you know what? I think we're going to move on. I don't care about your religion.
It's too much pseudoscience. at this
Just
point.
God, I don't care about your singing plants. They're not real. That's all in your head. Go talk to
Yeah.
somebody about that. Anyway, sorry. I don't like the plants are sentient because it's such a disingenuous argument. We feed plants to animals.
Literally doesn't make any sense. No matter how you divide it, it's just pointless.
Yeah, does not make sense. Okay. Jacob, come on up. Got to be over 18, please.
43.
Okay. What morally justifies you using animals?
Well, a lot of things. I mean, the fact we do have, meat eating teeth. The Bible tells us to eat meat. We need that nutrients that you can't just get from a straight plant diet.
Do you know what Jesus' brother James ate?
What's that?
A plant-based diet.
Okay. I mean, that was his choice, but it
Right, and that would be the
multiple,
point. Anything within the Bible
multiple
is
times
not.
in the Bible
It's
God
granting.
put
The
all
Bible
living
is
things.
granting permission, perhaps.
God
It's
put
not talking
plants,
about
all
a
living
commandment.
things.
You don't need to do it to be Christian.
You don't need to do what to be Christian?
So, getting permission for something is not the same thing as being commanded to do something, right?
It mentions in the Bible multiple times
Permission.
God provided us to eat meat.
It doesn't mention commandments.
Jesus ate fish. I mean,
So Jacob, again,
you can take it both ways if you want.
The question I was asking you is what, you understand that being granted permission to do something is not the same thing as being commanded to do something, right?
Okay, but it tells us it's there for us to eat. It tells us it's okay.
That's what permission means. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's not the same as a commandment. I'm forcing you to do this. You must do this, right?
Okay, well, what about there is an environmental impact on eating just plants. It's going to cause, where are you going to grow all these
let's start
vegetables?
by
Well, I was gonna say-
analyzing that. So
I just want to make sure though that we're clear that you don't have to consume animal products to be Christian. You can be vegan and Christian,
I didn't say
right?
no. That's not what I said.
I just want you to agree. You can be vegan and Christian, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I just wanted to confirm on.
But no, you
Go ahead.
just said do you have to consume meat to be a Christian? No, that's not what I said.
No, I was just confirming. I wasn't trying to put words in your mouth. I was trying to
I'm
confirm that you
saying
can be vegan and Christian. That's it.
God put all things, living things, plants.
Can you
on
be
earth
vegan
to
and
eat.
Christian?
Yeah, you can be vegan and Christian. You can
That's
also
all that
be a
matters.
meat eater
That's
and
it.
Christian.
That's all that matters.
Yep, go ahead, Keith.
So yeah, I mean, what is, or maybe the first thing to analyze here is kind of starting at the top level, the land usage, and then we can talk about other things after that, because you're talking about a concern to do with the effects of a fully plant-based diet. So let's analyze that. So in terms of land use on planet Earth, we have a certain amount of land sectored off to be agricultural land. What percentage of all agricultural land is dedicated to animal agriculture?
I don't know the exact percentage.
Right. It's depending on the studies that you can reference, it'll be anywhere between 76 to 83%. On average, it's 80%. So with that in mind, it takes up 80% of all agricultural land, both the land that we rear them on as well as the crops that we grow to feed them. So with this understood, what percentage of the global calorie supply do we get from animal products, meat, dairy, and eggs?
I don't know. You're asking me questions. I don't know the exact percentage.
Yeah, and that's an important question. That's why I asked these as the top level, because it makes it easier to understand the portions afterwards. So why we analyze this is because when you look at it, based on all those studies that going over, you would see that about 17% of the global calorie supply is produced by meat, dairy, and eggs. It's slightly different by country. Like in the US, it's 24%. But yeah, overall, globally, it's about 17% of our global calorie supply comes from this. The global protein supply, it accounts for 36%. So basically, the remaining 20% is broken down by 16% is crops grown to feed to humans, and the other 4% is things for like biofuels and textiles and things like cotton and stuff. So basically, despite only taking up 16% of the agricultural land on the planet, it makes up 83% of the calorie supply, and then 67% of the protein supply. So with that understood, like we're looking at a massive waste in resources, like just from the land use alone. But on top of this, we're feeding animals inordinate amounts of crops. We feed in terms of there's a certain amount that's inedible to us, but about one humanity's worth of calories, edible calories, is fed to livestock every single year. So we're talking about essentially feeding humanity twice, but this other humanity that we're feeding, that we're expecting to get a bunch of nutrients and calories and whatnot out of, it gives us an abysmal amount out. So when we look at like the IPCC study on the climate, the EPIC Oxford study on the climate, and their portions where they talk about food's impact, the IPCC study is basically the largest study we've done to date on the climate. And basically their sentences in there to do with dietary patterns is that adopting either a mostly or fully plant-based diet is the single biggest thing you as an individual can easily do to basically have a large net impact on improving the environment. Because it's not just about one thing or the other. We're talking about, deforestation that's occurring, greenhouse gas emissions, water pollution, resource depletion, etc. Like there's a whole trough of things that are being worsened by animal agriculture.
Okay. That's totally not what I was aiming for, but okay. So what about people that live way off the grid, say in a frozen environment where they're not able to grow plants, have fully on meat to survive? What are these people supposed to do?
You'll find in the definition of veganism, maybe I can ask you, because that's also an important top level thing to understand. So, like, what is the definition of veganism?
Well, you're not answering my question.
No, I'm going to answer your question with the definition.
I don't know the exact word for word definition, but it's, plant-based, plant, nuts, fruits based diet.
Yeah, so I mean, it entails aiming for a fully plant-based diet, but it is not like just like how, like with the example of like the Bible, right, about commanded versus like permission or whatever.
You're pivoting
we're basically
off my,
so.
It's
No,
a simple,
I'm going to answer your question.
answer. What are these people supposed to do?
Jacob, I'm going
survive?
to answer you. Like, I don't know why you gave me so much time to talk in the other thing, but you're just cutting me off here. So basically, when we understand veganism, it's the moral philosophy and understanding that animals are sentient beings worthy of moral consideration. And this is something that we would avoid doing as far as practicable and possible. Those are key words in the definition. So someone who is living in genuine states of survival, where they are going to essentially die if they don't do XYZ amount of harm towards animals, it's still wrong. There's still a moral action that is still wrong that's happening there, that still needs to be addressed, and they should be trying to find ways to resolve it, right? But we're not going to look at people who are in genuine states of survival and say that, like, you're 100% wrong. We could say, hey, you're in a state of survival. I'm like, that's not good. And like, you should do what you have to do to stay alive. But let's maybe analyze what we can do to benefit these people, or find other routes so that they can be okay on a plant-based diet. Find routes for that to be possible.
Well, all you're saying is they might have to do it to survive, but it's still wrong. But that's not answering my question.
How is that not answering the question? You asked me what we should do with these people. That's a direct answer as to what to do. They can still do what they need to survive, but we should be making strives to make improvements in the system in which they can survive without having to do that.
Like what? What are these improvements going to do?
Yeah, we could have
What would they have to do besides
access to
you
grow.
personally deliver them food to last them for a winter, or they have to move?
So this is again is where we're talking about where we need global action to first occur before we're going to start being able to address people in these remote situations and things like that. We need people everywhere that have the capacity to easily make changes, like you and I, to first make those changes. And then once those things take place, hey, like we've noticed that in this XYZ location and this one location over here and this one over here, we have people who are still not fully plant-based. And this is because they have lack of resources. So like, let's see about, either shipping food, or we could help them with resources from the government that would allow them to produce, indoor grow operations or just greenhouses or whatever it happens to be, to allow them to be able to produce a significant amount of food on their own land, even during the winter or extreme climates or whatever it happens to be. That's what we're talking about.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're talking, fairy tale. Like, I don't see.
So helping people is a fairy tale.
I mean, there's people that live totally off the grid.
So
don't
wasting an entire worth of calories on animals every single year that could be fed to humans, an entire humanity's worth of calories, because we need, I think, it's about 6 or 7 quadrillion calories every single year to feed humanity.
What part? Where do you live? What state do you live in?
I live in Washington.
Washington State. So you're used to a cold climate.
Yeah, it's cold right now.
I mean, people in frozen environment they can't survive on
Jacob,
plants. They need that meat.
We are talking about a situation where, again, these people are surviving off what they have, and we can make permission and acceptance for those particular extreme cases, right? And we can try in the future, especially when we have more access to food, to be able to easily give out to people, because we're not wasting feeding food to countless animals for no reason. When we stop doing that, we could redirect resources, both just direct food that we grow here to send to them through government incentives, or sending options for them to be able to grow their own food or whatever it happens to be. Like, that's what, again, I'm talking about. Like, it's not a fairy tale. Like, helping people isn't a fairy tale. We have the capacity to do this because we currently spend $20 billion every single year subsidizing meat, dairy, and eggs. Imagine if we didn't do that and we redirected it to those kinds of things. Like, the amount that we subsidize for fruits and vegetables and legumes and things that we can consume on the plant-based side directly for human consumption is less than 1% of the total subsidies for foods in the US. We're talking about like a couple $1 million versus 20 billion. We could easily take that money and redirect it towards these kinds of things to outfit people in northern Alaska or other places or whatever it happens to be, and help them. Like, that's not an impossibility. It's just an appeal to futility fallacy when you say that. Like, there's absolutely room to do these things.
Okay. So what about the total collapse of the global economy when you switch just to plants? Do you know the impact on that?
Yeah, so it's not going to happen overnight. It's like no one's.
Okay.
We're not going to have
let me finish. Every producer of meat, every cattle farmer, that whole industry goes away. Do you know the impact that's going to have on the economy? It would collapse. It would totally collapse it.
So it would go.
I mean, that's half the agriculture.
It would go
half the agriculture would go away. That's half the restaurant. Every every steakhouse and any restaurant that serves meat, they'd all be gone.
Right. So first of all, it would be a significant change, but it wouldn't collapse, and it would just simply adapt. And again, you're talking about maybe a scenario in which the world just instantly goes 100% vegan overnight. That's not going to happen. It's going to be a slow transition.
It's not going to happen anyways, because we were made to eat meat.
So why are you bringing up this argument if that's what you believe? It just like, do you want to hear my answer, or do you just want to like ramble into that?
Well, you're having a debate about this, are you not?
We are, but you wanted me to answer that, and then you just went, well, now it's impossible. So it's like, if that's your stance, then I don't know why you want me to answer the other thing.
Well, I mean, it is impossible. I don't see how it ever.
Right.
Jacob,
So, I mean,
I'm asking what morally justifies you, not the world, even though I've been letting us entertain these questions. I'm asking about you. I'm not talking about people that are surviving harsh environments or, a negligent government. I'm talking about you. What gives you the moral justification to use animals who are sentient beings when you could use something else? You can just eat a thing. Use a thing. You don't need to use a someone.
Because I need that meat to live.
For what?
For survival, for nutrients.
For what? What nutrient do you need from their body?
Protein.
You get protein from plants.
Iron.
All plants have protein. All plants have protein.
It's not the same.
It
is the same.
It's not the same. I have to have meat. I
that's
get
in your head.
Physically
Jeffrey
weak
Dahmer
when I don't have meat for a
Jeffrey
while.
Dahmer also had urges
Oh,
to
you're
eat
gonna bring
some
that
type
up?
of flesh.
No,
Why wouldn't
now
I?
you're bringing up
Why not?
cannibalism. That's ridiculous.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with it?
That's ridiculous.
Why is it bad? I don't disagree that taking someone's life is wrong. Can you tell me why it's wrong?
You're comparing taking a human life to.
I'm asking you, why is it wrong to take human life?
Because it's just wrong. It's against the law. It's
just wrong. Isn't
it's
that
wrong.
begging the question? No. Well,
That's
why?
not the same thing.
Why? Why is it wrong? Is it because someone is having a subjective experience and to take that away is immoral without their consent?
You're bringing up a.
Is it wrong to take someone's subjective experience away? I'm asking you why. You can't explain to me why it's wrong to unalive a human.
Yeah, this should
and
be
yet
simple.
it should be easy to
It says
say.
in the Bible it's wrong. I mean,
why
and it is.
It
it's
wrong?
wrong.
Is it just because it's in your book? If they found another scroll that said, except for this, people that wear blue shirts, would you then be okay with people unaliving people wearing blue shirts?
It says it's wrong in my book, yes. If you want to call it my book. It also says it's right that we eat meat. It also says God put animals on this earth for us to eat.
If God comes down tomorrow and releases Bible 2.0, and in it he says it's okay to take the life and consume these kinds of people, it's now okay to do that because he said so?
I mean, if he said so, I don't know. I still
okay. You have no
doesn't
moral
mean I would do it.
That you can think of.
I guess I don't want to bother people that don't believe in human rights.
You can't think outside of a textbook that had no scientific literacy behind it. I don't know what to do with you.
What a bullet to bite, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Yeah, I don't understand people that are willing to subject humans to exploitation. It doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, God
said so.
Jewel, got to be over 18. Uh-oh. Dang, doesn't look like it's going to happen. All right, let's see. Sevenfold. You got to be over 18. Are you over 18?
Yeah, I'm 21.
Okay. What morally justifies you using animals?
Oh, I'm a vegan actually. I was just wondering if I could chill up here.
I'm probably gonna actually have you step down just because I want to talk to more non-vegans, and I don't have too many vegans up here.
Oh, gotcha.
And I also, I'd like to vet you first, just because there's different types of vegans out there. But I appreciate you coming up.
All right. Yep. Thanks.
Mhm. All right. Med Shark. Are you over 18?
Yeah, I am.
Oh wow, it is
Sorry,
loud.
give me just a second.
Okay.
I'm not currently at work.
Rose
Gotcha.
warehouse.
Yeah.
Quick. Yeah, I work in the firearm manufacturing facility. But,
Okay, I don't know if I can tolerate very long, but I'll talk to you for a little bit. It's just very loud.
No worries. No worries. Quick couple of questions first. What, if you don't mind explaining real quick, what does morality have to do with it?
Oh, because it's talking about right and wrong. So what gives you the right to take someone's autonomy or violate their autonomy for your benefit?
Well, due to the fact that we personally raise them for that purpose, it's not exactly taking away their autonomy.
So if I raise a child to cut their hair, like I want to use their hair to make wigs, is that moral? Like I don't care about them. I'm just raising them for their hair.
If that's the exact purpose.
You think that's moral for someone to do that to kids?
So
I can't speak on morality.
Maybe extrapolate this more too. Like, so if you raise children, like you are taking children from mothers to basically move them over into a factory to work in a sweatshop, day in and day out. So that's okay because they were bred to be worked in a sweatshop factory. The act of breeding them for this purpose makes it okay, is what you're saying?
I muted you just because it's so loud, so I muted you so he could speak. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries about that. I completely understand about muting part. The reason I'm saying this is is it specifically the mother was originally having that purpose of that child.
Okay, I'm really sorry. It's just so loud. I can't tolerate it. All the bells and whistles. I can't hear you at all.
He came back and still was saying that it was okay too. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't understand people that are against like human rights. Like I personally think it's wrong if you're gonna have kids just because you want to raise them for their hair. I don't know if that's crazy, but that sounds weird to me. Like,
I mean, even just extrapolated to the level of talking about that. If you can't understand that of all things, like, good Lord, I don't.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I hope they don't have kids. Yeah. Okay, Les. I feel like image looks familiar.
Hello?
Hey, Les, are you over 18?
Yeah, I'm 19.
What year were you born?
2005.
Okay. What morally justifies you using
I'm not
animals?
echoing, am I?
No.
Okay. I appeal to the Bible. I appeal to my overall objective standpoint. And since I'm not a moral subjectivist, I'm allowed to do what I want.
So, is raping dogs okay?
No.
Why?
Because that's bestiality, I guess. I mean, because my overall
What's wrong
morality,
with that?
I appeal to something that stands. My overall judge disagrees with that, so I shouldn't do it.
Why? Why do they disagree with it?
I mean, it's impossible to grasp infinity, right? Our final brains can do that, so we should take what he says with a grain of salt. But what he does say in absolute clarity, we should take it to heart value.
I don't know what any of that means. Can I kick dogs?
What?
Can I kick dogs for exercise?
Yeah, I mean, there's no statements within the
Okay,
Bible
so-
where God specifically says, doing dog betting rings or kicking dogs for fun is specifically wrong. He just has entailed statements about like being merciful, like, desiring to be a merciful person. So like when we logically extrapolate that to where, hey, kicking dogs is wrong, and I can use subjective morality to figure that out, even though it doesn't objectively say those exact words in this book. You can also use that to figure out, oh, hey, so I mean, I don't need to kick dogs for fun. I also don't need to slit the throats of dogs so I can get some fun taste pleasure out of it. And by the same example, you wouldn't need to go and slit the throats of pigs to get some, fun taste pleasure out of it.
Yeah, so that essentially like doesn't necessarily disagree to anything I said. I'm saying that since the Bible doesn't say anything about it, then I can do whatever I want with said subject. The Bible does say things about like thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not take revenge. Yes, okay, I shall not do that, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to go under some rhetoric that doesn't even exist.
So I can kick dogs then for exercise.
I mean, if you want to, if you feel good about that.
I can. That's moral. I can train dogs to dog fight and breed them for dog fighting.
I think what the Bible says. The Bible says thou shalt not harm intently.
Oh.
I mean, discipline.
Oh, does it?
Discipline.
Does it?
Well,
Tell me, how do you unalive an animal without harming them?
I wasn't done speaking. Okay.
Oh, okay. You had more to that thought. Thou shalt not harm. Continue.
Okay, so essentially what I'm saying is, if you're going out of the way to do something without effect, right, there is no actual like cause to what you're doing, right, then essentially you shouldn't do it. But of course, if you wanted to go or something for food, you could do that.
Even when you don't need to?
I mean, even when you don't need to, I guess.
Wow. I'm pretty sure your Bible actually says you're not supposed to slaughter animals unless you are going to consume their flesh.
I'm a Christian denominationalist, so so essentially I go over my own moral code, but I'm still a Christian.
Okay, well, have you seen Christspiracy?
Explain.
It's a documentary that actually goes back to the original holy texts and looks at some of these words that people throw around, like dominion and texts. Whoa. Christspiracy is what it's called. Anyway, they show you the different translations of those words. Okay. Well, goodbye. Check out Christspiracy. It might change your mind on your own religion.
One can only.
I don't know. Yeah. I always forget the last point that I'm on when they leave like that, so I don't remember what we were saying. I know we were talking about religion, but
the Bible is supposed to be like a guide to principles, not this just like exhaustive rule book that you just follow verbatim and never think outside of any of it. Like that's just insane.
Yeah, and I always, my go-to is just to point out the Garden of Eden usually, just that his original plan was a vegan world. So I don't know why you wouldn't be striving to live as godly as possible.
Yeah, it's always nothing else. You can be like, okay, prove your religion is the correct one and not the other 174 of them.
I mean, exactly. That's that too. It doesn't even matter if your religion did require you to use animals or to exploit anyone. It's like I could have a religion that says I exploit, like you've already said, for example, this group of people, I said someone wearing blue shirts, you were like, just someone that looks different. It's all the same. It's just arbitrary bullshit, discrimination. All right.
Almost sounded like a Star Trek reference at first.
Yeah.
Yeah, blue shirts and red shirts.
Blue shirts and red shirts. And I was like, oh, wait, yeah. Oh, Jewel, it's still... Oh, there you are. Are you over 18?
Yeah.
Hello? Oh, God. I'm sorry. I was way too loud. And also, you didn't sound like you were 18, so... Daniel. Are you over 18?
Yeah.
Okay, what morally justifies you using animals?
I will tell you.
So I'm having a live. This is my live.
I know.
I want you to answer my question. Okay, as long as your question leads to that, that's all that matters.
No. Well, you have to tell me what morally justifies you to eat plants.
I don't have to tell you anything, Daniel. You came onto my live. I'm holding this question. If you want to be up here, you're going to answer it.
Yeah, but I'm just posing the same
I'll
question to
answer,
you.
Daniel. I'll answer your question after you answer mine.
I am free to do with what is mine.
Okay, the reason why I am advocating for people to live a vegan lifestyle is because there's a victim. They're using someone for something they don't need to. We have all the alternatives we could need. So there's no reason to subject someone to the scariest situation.
Yeah, I mean, using what is yours is the same logic that slave drivers used in the 1700s and prior. Like, that's insane. Oh, I own this thing, quote unquote, therefore I'm allowed to do whatever the hell I want to them. That's insane.
That's life, dude.
Okay, so you're just
okay.
I mean, you
I was
seem
gonna
like you're a
say,
waste of time, then.
if you're not for human rights, then walk
a
on.
waste of time.
Yeah, like, again,
Bro
human
would
rights.
have grown up in the slavery period, saw the abolitionists, and went, "Oh, that's life, bro. Get over it."
Yeah, that's life.
Jesus
Natural. Okay, Les. No, I just had you up here, didn't I?
Yeah.
We did. Yeah, we did. Sorry, Les, didn't mean to psych you out there. Is it Kama or Rama? I have a hard time with that text.
Looks like Rama.
Rama, okay. Gotta be over 18. You might have to leave and come back. I saw you sitting there for a while. No, okay. I thought I'd give you another extra second. All right, fun rat. Gotta be over 18. Dang. Doesn't want to go.
Yep.
All right. Well, I don't know. I kind of want to take a breather between people anyway. There's just, I don't know. It blows my mind that people like to use their religion, even though it's almost like they don't even know their own religion. And also, I feel like they're insulting their religion by just throwing it out in front of themselves like a shield.
And I mean, it's just kind of like not looking beyond the bridge of your nose, not looking beyond the bridge of your Bible, because there's all kinds of like historical evidence and things to contradict what is kind of like these guiding like Christian principles and whatnot that came about because of like the various popes and kings through time that altered your Bible, who altered what the text originally said, who made all kinds of alterations to like the original intent. And it's just, like the documentary, it just begs the question, like, how would Jesus kill an animal when it isn't necessary? Just
yeah, exactly.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I actually remember someone long ago making that example of like the devil's in the room with Jesus and there's a lamb. Who's going to stab it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Compassion, mercy, but not for the animals for some arbitrary reason. Or the plants feel pain.
Yeah, it's just weird that, like, yeah, I mean, like, we've all seen, like, the famous photo of, like, Jesus, like, holding a lamb or whatever.
Yes.
Like,
in fact, I'm pretty sure, because I took art history in college, and I'm pretty sure one of the original, like, the first oldest painting they can find of Jesus is of a man with a lamb around his shoulders, painted in I think it was a grave, or what are they called? The tombs. It's, like, on the ceiling of it or something. But it was of a man with a lamb, like a living lamb, not dead.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. It's a symbol of, like you said, peace and innocence. Doesn't make sense. But yes, I understand that he is the sacrificed one for your sins. Again, so what's interesting is that he's dying for your sins, right? The sin, and that's an awful thing that he had to go through that. The same sin that people are using as a justifier to continue hurting animals. Like, it doesn't Doesn't
I mean,
make sense.
and we understand again because like these kinds of things aren't like really explicitly written in the Bible, but we understand like the Nazareths at the time were prominently plant-based. Like they followed these kinds of ideals. Like Jesus's brother James was prominently plant-based, if not completely. It's just so many of them hold these exacting stances against the use and exploitation of animals in the Bible. So maybe learn from them. I don't know.
Well, and like even if you look at our history, more often when someone was like labeled a vegetarian or something, they were viewed as more compassionate because they even love the animals, right? Like, so everyone is still acknowledging, hey, these animals are sentient, and it's more compassionate to not harm them, to not use them. Anyway, let's see. We might have gotten one here. Oh, Jacob, I don't really want to talk to you again. I'm pretty sure you were one of the ones against human rights. So I don't.
He was the one who, when we posed the question if we made the Bible 2.0 and it's now okay to harm XYZ person, he's on board with that.
Right, that's insane. And you know what's great? There are examples in the Bible of people doing that, like that guy with his son, or the wars, obviously, saying you can enslave people outside of your country.
I mean, why it's insane too is like because like the whole notion of Christianity and like the original sin and whatnot is like that was supposed to intently create like free will, and now everything is a test. So God makes Bible 2.0, and in Bible 2.0 he says it's okay to harm, like you said, blue shirt people. How would you not look at that as like a potential test and reconsider, like, maybe I shouldn't just follow a book's written words and maybe think about this more. I gotta take a call 1 second.
No worries. Yeah. And as I said earlier, even if your religion required, which I'm pretty sure, I can't think of a single religion that does require someone to consume animals. But you can be vegan in any religion. So that means that it's always a choice. And if we know that animals are sentient, if we know that we have everything that we could use and consume from plants, fungi, seaweed, then there's no point in subjecting a sentient being who prefers to not feel harm and to continue living, subject them to being used and abused, essentially, having their freedom robbed and a purpose forced on them. It's just, I don't know. If I can get a little personal about it, it's just like, for me, I've always had some kind of companion animal. Either my mom would adopt strays or someone would give us, animals. And even then I was still kind of numb to it. But once I started really spending time with my companions, you do see their personality. You start to recognize their patterns. You notice they prefer something over other, like a toy. Usually they'll prefer a toy over other toys. You find their preferences. They prefer to hang out in a certain spot. They prefer, some of them like attention, some of them don't, even within the same species, or breed or whatever. So when I would lose these companions, it was heartbreaking. I didn't want to say goodbye because it's my loved ones, my family, and they're not any different. In fact, the animals we use are commonly more intelligent than our companion animals. And there's so much personality in our companion animals, the cats and the dogs. And to think that the cows and the pigs, the sheep, the chickens, that they don't have a personality is just because we've not spent any time with them. So we don't recognize their patterns. So they just look chaotic.
It's so silly because so many people will like go on Instagram and they'll see like people who do have like these quote unquote cuter chickens or cows or whatever, and they'll subscribe to their page and they'll like every single post of like these cute chickens who are like cuddling on the person's lap or is hanging out in the field with the cow, petting them, and they look fluffier than like a normal cow or whatever. All these things, it's like, oh, because it has a slightly different like physical appearance, or because it's showing slightly more affection or whatever, that automatically is now it's wrong to harm that one, or they just don't. They just straight up don't think about these things. They go, well, that's
Yeah.
nice that they're taking care of these ones, but screw all the other ones. Like, who cares?
Yeah. Yep. Honestly, my my grandmother was one of those. She grew up on a farm, so she talked about those hard choices or whatever. She obviously didn't like my choice of not using animals. She's gone now, but we bumped heads. Anyway, but to her, animals, they did suffer somewhat, but to her it was like numbed down, like their skin is thicker and they can't really suffer that much. And it's like even a little bit, that still doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she still felt like it was her right because of that.
Yeah.
Just
That's insane. Daniel already. Think of it as the animals want us to have food to eat. So, I mean, was that the case when, like, the University of Zurich did a study on how traumatic CO2 gas is for pigs when they go to take their life, and how this pig was trained to enjoy a particular pen that they had created for him? They would give him belly rubs, give him all the food in the world, blah, blah, blah. And then one day when they took him into the room, he would come running gleefully for this space because he knew it was his happy place, and he'd come running for it. And then one day they enclosed it and turned on CO2 gas, not enough to take his life, but enough to test the response. The pig refused to ever go back. Does that sound like someone who wants to give their life for us? Doesn't sound like it to me.
yeah, exactly. We watch their behaviors. I mean, if they really wanted to give their life, there would be a natural cycle of them doing that, right? They would present themselves to us, or they would just kill themselves in general, right? They would they would unalive themselves, risking my TikTok. But anyway, yeah, they would just naturally do something, right? They would be slamming themselves into walls or jumping off of cliffs or jumping on a sharp rock of some sort, like they don't do that. They avoid those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But, oh, hello. Let's see. Chris Tofu. Interesting name. Hey, Chris Tofu. Are you over 18?
Yeah, I'm 32.
Okay. Are you vegan?
I was for a really long time.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you just like tofu?
Yeah, I cook with it a lot, but
Nice.
I don't know if this is like some like are you guys, are we debating like
Oh, yeah. I have a question.
using
What
animals?
morally justifies using animals?
I think what morally justifies it is the same justification as using any life form as a resource to continue your life. I think in every species except for a handful of bacterias that are primary resource generators, all life has to kind of consume to live, whether that's animals or plants or whatever. I don't think animals are any different than plants.
Why do you think vegans do draw the line between plants and animals?
I think it's marketed. It's marketed as like healthy. It's marketed as morally just or whatever. The same reason that people make the moral justification of eating chickens or cows, but not dogs or
So
cats.
I just want to be clear. You don't see a difference if I was to pull a carrot out of the dirt and me slicing the throat of a pig.
I do see a difference.
What is that difference?
So I think it's under. I think that might be a longer answer if that's okay. Like what is the difference? Like if we look at different species of plants, like either trees that produce fruit or grains that produce like their kernels or whatever, we would kind of assume those things are supposed to be eaten. It's like a process of their reproductive strategy, essentially.
Do you understand that that's about 90% of plants, because most plants are either fruiting bodies or they are annual plants. Those are the majority of the plants that we consume.
The majority of plants don't do that. The majority of the plants don't live on land. the majority of plants live in.
Oh, are you talking about all plants, or are we talking about the plants we eat?
Yeah, I'm talking about the
All-
plants that we
all
consume.
plants. Well, because they evolved from like they're related, so their reproductive strategies are essentially related as well, or whatever.
But
And
what I was trying to point out is that the majority of the plants that we consume are either plants that are annual plants, meaning they are dead by the time we harvest them, or they're like literally about to die, or B, they are fruiting bodies where they have nuts or seeds or berries or whatever that fall off their branches. So those are the majority. You could be vegan and be someone who doesn't like, oh, don't harm perennial plants, so don't eat rosemary and rhubarb and asparagus and like a handful of a few other plants. If you really wanted to have that stark stance, sure, I guess, but that's again a very small amount of the plants that we even consume.
agreed. And even those plants that we eat, their life cycle is tied to the death and decay of other species. They're just consuming a resource that they have access to.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead. Okay, sorry.
I was gonna say this doesn't really tackle the main point, which is the cutoff for veganism and why we avoid the consumption of animals is because they are sentient beings. Plants and fungus
I agree
and
with that.
dirt and rock. These are things that are not sentient.
I don't agree with that part. I think anything that can, like the definition of life
You have
that
scientific
we have.
evidence to back up why you don't agree.
Yeah. I was gonna go kind of, or I was gonna try to kind of touch on what we consider as alive, essentially, and when anything that can kind of interact with the environment has an experience because it makes decisions.
Life and
like
sentience are two different things.
How so?
Yeah, so sentience involves the capacity to experience, sensations and emotions, pain, fear, joy, anxiety, love, etc., which requires, a nervous system, specialized sensory organs, and/or a central processing unit, usually a brain or a cerebral ganglia, to process and integrate sensory information. Plants lack any kind of neurons, synapses, nociceptors, any centralized processing organ that would be anything close to being akin to a brain. Like the closest you can get to is what's it called? There's trying to remember off the top of my head. No, it's called meristems. So plants have meristems, and that's been the closest thing that they've represented within like this analysis of conscious activity or whatever. But that's speculating, like when we use like speculative framework design to study animal consciousness and ascribe that to plants. When we use that, it basically will theorize maybe that plants' meristems might act as informational processing hubs, but it redefines what conscious activity is to mean signal integration and environmental responsiveness, and not subjective awareness or experience.
So why would something evolve the ability to interact with its environment if it were not
for survival?
Exactly. That
survival
is
does not have to involve sentience.
That doesn't. So
it makes perfect sense.
Sure. You took our evolution and our experience, our egotistical kind of perspective, and you're transposing it onto something that has a completely different evolutionary tract. We're looking at our experience and we're saying, oh, our experience is the special one. Our experience is particular. Their experience, although they can interact with their environment and they respond to changes just as we do on different timescales, even trees, plants, anything that has the ability to interact with its environment has a sentient
natural selection is completely indifferent as to whether an organism is conscious or not. That what matters for evolutionary success is just the ability to survive and reproduce and pass on genes, and that can occur through any kind of mechanism that can either involve sentience or not. So
Yeah,
like
that
instinct
doesn't
and
explain.
reflexes versus like these kind of like hormonal or biochemical responses and whatnot. Like that's how it can interact and have these like essentially responses to stimuli to then make certain changes within its structure and survival over time. But none of that has to be involved with sentience or a conscious awareness of your surroundings or a subjective experience.
I don't know any scientific literature that would suggest otherwise. We see very often, even in like studying things like there's a species of fig wasp or whatever that digests its neurons as a part of its life cycle or whatever. And there's things like sea slugs and corals that when they're done doing the action that their either neurons or the things that essentially equate to neurons, message passing.
I mean, you listed two animals that I would place in the realm of potentially not sentient at all as well.
Exactly.
So,
most people would do that, but we see them interact with their environment just
Okay,
as
Chris,
we interact with.
Chris. Are you trying to argue that plants their interests should be considered morally?
If you consider animals, I think it's kind of egotistical to be like, oh well, animals are special.
So why do you draw the line between humans and animals?
I don't.
Because okay, so you're saying then that we could eat humans?
If you you can. There's nothing that stops
taste
you
pleasure?
other than
I can unalive humans against their will for taste pleasure.
Yeah, do I agree with doing that? Absolutely not.
Well,
but
that's
you
what we're
can
talking
physically
about
do
is
that.
morally. I don't care if someone physically can do it.
Well, there's people that don't have that moral structure.
I'm asking in your moral framework. Do you think that's moral?
Because I don't
Okay.
need to. That's not
So you
something
do
that I
draw a
need to do.
line. You do draw a line. You're saying that our line of sentience is arbitrary, but I want to know, what is your line between animals and humans? Because we're both sentient.
Yeah,
you just started to say the words "I don't need to" in response to the human example. So you don't need to in the animal example either.
Like, it's a context-based thing. If I was in a situation where I needed to do something like that.
That's not the scenario.
Veganism allows for that in the very definition. I think you don't understand what veganism is. So veganism
I'm not arguing against veganism. I'm arguing against the moral standpoint of saying, oh, animals are special, plants are not special, because animals are like us.
We're not saying that plants aren't special. They're still very complex and crucial parts of our environment that we shouldn't just needlessly, keyword, cause harm to. I wouldn't just go around like chopping down trees or kicking bushes for the fuck of it. We're talking about survival and doing the best that we can to avoid unnecessary mass amounts of harm, especially to those who are sentient.
And
we have like, if again, she asked you the question at the start, like, do you think there is a moral fundamental difference between, cutting a carrot versus slitting the throat of a goat?
Not particularly. If the life form has the ability.
So again, we're back to the human example. So what is the morally relevant difference in the human example that now makes it okay? Like, what trait do we have to remove from humans for it to now be okay to exploit and cause this harm towards humans, but not the goat?
Yeah, there's a difference in me saying I wouldn't do something like that, because that's what the.
But we're talking about you.
That's something that
talking about you.
Yeah, but how do we don't have to talk about me, because
that's what we're talking about. Look at my question. Look at my question.
I get that, but I'm
okay. So stick to the topic.
Like that. I think I am sticking to the topic. I'm just trying to.
You're using other people as an excuse. I want you to come from your moral perspective.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm trying to say the way I answered your question doesn't align with what I'm arguing. Because
What is the moral difference between humans and animals that makes it okay to stab one but not the other?
yeah, because contextually I would do that. If you like,
I'm not saying you're in a survival situation for the human
even if
flesh.
I'm
I'm
not in a
saying you just
survival
want to have
situation,
lunch.
yeah, even if I'm not in a survival situation,
You would eat human flesh that was taken without consent.
if that decision makes sense in the context of making that decision, absolutely. I
How?
think.
Tell me how that makes sense.
Do you want me to come up with a scenario that makes sense in?
I want you to tell me why right now, in the world you live in, right now, it is immoral to use a human without their consent.
It is immoral to use a human without their consent. You want me to explain why that immoral or moral?
Why is it immoral, with an I, immoral, to use a human without their consent? I can't believe this is hard for you to understand.
I was just trying to clarify the question that you were asking me.
Now answer it.
I don't see it as immoral.
You don't think using humans without their consent is immoral? So you believe in human slavery?
No, because
you just said you're fine with crossing someone's body. What?
Yeah,
That is
this
human slavery.
opens the door to grape. It opens the door to taking slitting their throat. It opens the door to slavery. It opens the door to removal of autonomy altogether. That's just insane. If you actually believe
so many people today biting that bullet.
Fucking
that
insane.
Makes me so sad that they would be willing to let their neighbor be used up as bacon. Whole experience gone just for taste pleasure.
I love the fact that someone like that would be like, I was vegan. It's like, okay, why'd you stop? Because plants might feel something. What?
What are you doing for those plants that you care about? And he even said, go ahead, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Just despite the fact that there's no scientific evidence backing that up whatsoever.
Nothing. Yeah, there's nothing. But even it's like we have to feed the animals something. So I don't understand. He was saying that we're being hypocritical because we're drawing the line between plants and animals, but he couldn't answer what the difference. He did. He said there was no difference. You could use humans. That's the bullet he bit.
Yeah. Tofu, go back to go onto Google, type in the words debunking a myth, plant consciousness. A study will come up.
Yes.
Read the entire study. If you can't understand parts of it, use ChatGPT or another AI to help you understand it.
Yeah.
Let us know if you get through the entire thing and you still think that plants are sentient beings. We'll wait.
Yeah. I guarantee you'll come back a changed person if you actually do read it. All right. This is Place. I didn't read it fast enough. This is A Place to Be Loved. Are you over 18?
I'm over 18.
Okay. What morally justifies... I can hear you, yeah. What morally justifies you using animals?
I wonder how we're using animals.
Do you consume animal flesh? Like their meat or milk, eggs? You consume their secretions?
I eat meat, but I don't like to eat meat around someone who doesn't eat meat.
That's considerate of you. Do you wear leather? Do you go to circuses?
I don't wear leather or anything like that, and I don't go to circuses. The one thing that does upset me about eating meat is how they kill to get the meat. It literally breaks my heart when I see videos of how they treat animals and put them down. I don't think there should be any pain in the process.
I mean, can you... Go ahead, Keith. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, it wouldn't matter if these animals were cuddled to death. It's the fact that they are being intentionally bred and then exploited for this trivial purpose of a taste pleasure. We don't need to be doing it. So causing needless harm, think about this on a logical scale of maybe a Richter scale here. So to maybe beg a couple questions here. On a Richter scale, 0 to 10, 10 being the worst, how bad is it to say, take the life of a human without need?
It also taking the life of a human. There's certain circumstances. If it's taking the life during war,
Sorry, where it's
taking the
not
life out of their
necessary.
suffering,
Again,
taking
where
the
it's
life,
where
before,
it's
like if they're
where
in the
it's
hospital and they're
where
suffering.
it's where it's not necessary, and you're not trying to do it for their betterment.
Um, is it the betterment of mankind?
No, the betterment of that individual, like you said, where they are suffering and they're seeking out something like euthanasia. That's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about, cold-blooded, essentially, murder.
Murder, no, murder's not good. I don't agree with murder.
So yeah, like on a scale of 0 to 10, where is that?
Okay, I would never thought of a scale. I don't know how the scale is scaled to
10,
other
10,
scales.
10 is like really, really bad. 0 is not bad at all.
Because of unsure, I would just at the moment the first, measurement which could change, I would start at 5.
Okay. I mean, I don't know I guess you could maybe extrapolate on worse things to do to someone, maybe, but I think taking their life should probably earn a little bit higher of a score than a 5 out of 10. But we'll maybe see what your answer is on the next thing. So, kicking someone in their shins.
Could
So,
I ask
like,
a question too? To come back with a question?
okay,
Do you think it's morally wrong for an animal to eat another or to kill another animal to survive?
they're moral patients, so no, I don't think that. So
So you
going
don't
back
think
to
an
my
animal killing another animal to
the
feed its
difference
family
is
or
the difference is I
that?
can say it's wrong. I can go to you and I can say the words, it's wrong to kill someone where it's not necessary. And you can understand these words. I can't go to a lion and say these words and have them understand them.
Oh, okay, that makes
So
sense.
that's the difference. So that's why they're moral patients. So going back to the other question, so kicking a person in their shins, 0 to 10. How bad is it to just kick someone in their shins? It's not necessary. You're just causing direct harm. You're just kind of being a dick.
Well, stepping on a Lego, that'd be a 10, easy.
Well,
I don't know if you ever stepped on a Lego in the middle of the night, but that's literally 10 easy.
I get the comedy, but I'm asking you to
Sorry.
to answer me kicking someone in their shins against their desire. Like I'm kicking them for my enjoyment. I'm gonna laugh at them and be like, ha,
Yeah, that
stupid
sounds like
idiot or
bullying.
whatever.
I'm not. I think bullying in any form is not good to ever bully somebody.
Right. So on a scale of 0 to 10, where does that fall? And keep in mind, you again rated Schmurder as a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm not sure that the number I'm not too, but kicking someone in the shin, for no cause and no reasoning, that
Yeah.
it's not a discipline or not something to as discipline, not as something as protecting
Yes.
boundaries,
It's
not as
not
something like
necessary
this,
in the
but
slightest.
just kicking someone in the shin because they are just randomly for no reason, not for the
Just for
betterment of
my
the people.
enjoyment. I'm having fun. I like kicking people in the shins for
Yeah,
fun.
that's a high number. I would put that. You know, since I put that as 5, I would up the both of them at 7 for now.
Okay, so you're putting both of them at 7.
Yep.
I can reasonably understand that. So now let's go and analyze maybe a dog. So me kicking a dog for no reason. In the same context as the human. I'm doing this for fun. I like kicking dogs. Where does that fall?
Uh, yeah, that's I feel like then that person needs to be kicked in the shin as well. But uh, I would put that also up there where like of 6, 5.
Okay. Yeah, it's bad. Now, the same context, slitting the throat and killing a dog in the same context, schmurder of the human, we can say unnecessary schmurder of this dog. So
Unnecessary, then yeah, it would be up there. But if you're using it for food, you're using it for the better cause, like to
So
feed and
again,
things other
so
people.
understand this person had, for example, the option to get their protein or whatever other nutrients from plants on the side. They could have consumed plants and not killed and taken this dog's life. So that's not part of the equation. They're just taking the life of the dog because either A, they feel like it, or B, they just want the taste pleasure of consuming that dog.
Could I
Is
ask
that
you a
okay?
question?
Sorry, what?
Could I ask you a question?
Hey guys, I'm really sorry. I have to suddenly end. My partner is getting a call, but as soon as he's done, I'll come back on. I'm really sorry.
Oh, no
This
worries.
is
Thanks for
actually a
having me
really
up.
great
Hopefully I
conversation.
got
If you
better
can,
answers.
please do come back because I'd love to
Yeah,
talk.
just drop a follow on her live and then come back up.